So we're going to start sitting on the block. Just let ourselves settle. Let's wriggle out a little bit. Get those sitting bones down on the ground. Spine, pelvis in neutral. Roll the shoulders back a little bit. And then let the eyes close. Soften the jaw. And we're just going to let the breath come. Breathing in out through the nose. See what happens. Now we'll start to take a little deeper breath and move out of this. Going to lie down on the floor. So just moving the block out to the side, using the hands to support. Tuck the tailbone away a little bit as you roll it in. And then we'll let the knees come in towards the body. And just taking the hands on top of the knees. Going to make some gentle circles with those knees, following the breath. So we're starting to get a little bit of movement into the hips, but also getting a little bit of a tilt backwards and forwards through the pelvis as well. So we want to do everything nice and slowly. So it's a bit like we're putting a little bit of juice and some oil back into the joints and the muscles. We'll take a few repetitions in the opposite direction. And then we'll bring the feet back down to the floor, close into the body, take the arms out wide, crucifix style. Going to stack the hips a little bit over towards the left and let the knees roll down to the right. So just a little bit off center as we come down. Trying to let the hips have a sensation of lengthening away. We'll take one more breath in, and on the exhale, we'll lift the knees gently back to the center. Bring the spine back into the center, take another breath, and then just stack the hips over to the right little as the legs roll down to the left side. Take a little deep breath in. On the exhale, lift. Bring ourselves back into the center. Just draw the chin in towards the chest. Take the right knee in towards the body. And allow ourselves to draw the knee in towards the armpit. And as you're looking down towards the bottom end of the mat, you can press that left heel away and then flex both feet. And then let the head gently lay back. Draw the heel back in along the floor, chin in towards the chest. Bring both feet to the ground just temporarily whilst you're changing the weight into that left knee coming in and sliding slowly out with the right foot down the center line. Both feet flex, toes spread. Roll the spine back down again. Keep the neck nice and long. Try and lengthen the hips away. Even though you're drawing the knee in, and that tends to bring the hip back in towards the body, you want to push that out a little bit towards the front of the mat. And then we'll bring both heels gently into the ground again, knees high. You can take the feet wider for bridge pose. So hands alongside the body. Just wriggle the shoulders underneath a little bit. Traditionally, toes are in, heels are out. It's what feels comfortable in your body, so you might need to experiment a little bit. So draw the belly down. Get the lower back into the floor. Draw the tailbone away from the ground, and then when the back of the pelvis almost lifts off the floor, we start to press into the legs and allow the hips to lift up. Now, as you press down through the arms, you're going to draw the thighs and the buttocks towards the front of the mat. Press down through the shins. We'll take one deep breath at the top, and then use the spine, exhaling down gently to the floor. Just trying to roll it out as smoothly as we can. We'll take a breath at the bottom, draw the belly in, round the spine, tailbone lifts, and the hips come up. Everything lengthens away. Doesn't have to be the biggest bridge in the world. And one breath in, and then exhaling back down. It's more important to send the thighs and the buttocks to the front of the mat than it is to get the spine in any particular shape. Take a breath at the bottom. Roll through, heel away, lifting up. Breath at the top. Make space in the lower spine as the buttocks travel away. Rolling down. One more breath here. Peel the spine away from the floor. Breath at the top. Roll the spine down as you exhale from your breath. Now we'll wiggle the toes and heels back onto the center line and bring the feet really close in towards the bottom. We'll draw right knee in towards the body. I'm going to take the hands and interlace around the back of the hamstring, low down towards the groin, and then slowly lengthen that right leg up towards the sky. Toes, flex them down towards me, press the heel away, but also suck the pelvis and the hip down into the floor. So both halves of the pelvis have got equal weight, equal pressure. Not that worried about it being the straightest leg in the world. Not that worried about it being directly over the hip. It's a little bit more about the dynamics of your body to determine where your foot ends up. Hopefully starting to feel the thighs working The back of the hamstring is opening out, calf muscle stretching. And then we'll bring that foot down to the floor. We'll swap it over to the second side. And slowly lengthen that out. Remember, we draw down and we press away. Foot is flexed. Breathing is steady and even. And we'll relax that foot down to the floor. Bring the chin in towards the chest, knees in towards the body. I'm going to wrap my arms around the shins as best I can. And just have a little wriggle on the spine gently from side to side in this curled up little ball. I'm going to release the feet to the floor. I'm going to turn onto my right side on the center line of the mat, lengthen the legs away. I'm going to have my right hand stretched out down the center line towards the back of the mat. And I'm going to let the head sit on the arm. I'm just going to have my left hand sitting on top in front. So you can have fingertips or palms. I'm going to try and lengthen both legs away and just press the balls of the foot, stretch them out, open the toes out a little bit as well. And then we're going to lift the top leg off about 6 to 9 inches off the ground. And then we're going to make circles. So we're going to take small circles. The leg is going to come forwards about 6 or 9 inches and then go back the same. You don't want it too much because we're looking to work a little bit of articulation into the hip, but also connecting balance through the pelvis and the spine. And if we make those circles too vigorous, too big, we're kind of working the bigger, larger muscles, and it's the small, more refined, balanced muscles that we're looking for, connecting in with the core, abdominal, lower back muscles. So just rolling around. Try and remember to breathe. And then we'll bring the foot down. I'll draw both knees in towards the body and then compress into that left hand to lift up. Swing the legs over to come into the opposite side. So again, down that center line, turn onto the side, let the head sit down on the arm, hands in front just to keep you safe. Lengthen the legs away, spread the toes. When you're ready, you're going to lift top leg and then just make tiny circles. Just enough to feel that it's challenging the balance muscles in the body. And the circles don't have to be the roundest circles. It might be a bit rectangular or elliptical. We'll finish with that. Let the foot come in, draw the knees in towards the chest again, press down into that bottom arm to lift up, and we'll come up onto all fours, facing the front of the mat, ready for cat-cow. So hands underneath shoulders, shins down, bootlaces down, chest lifts, shoulders roll back, tailbone up towards the sky. And then we'll tilt the pelvis and exhale it out, drawing the belly in. going to take a few rounds. We'll come back into a neutral tabletop position and just take the hands out a little wider. We're going to melting heart pose. So we are going to let the chest drop down to the floor so that we can work into the shoulders and the upper back a little bit more. We'll keep the belly drawn in and press the shins to the ground. If you can, avoid dropping the chin completely to the floor. I'm going to kind of stay in position, but just push the fingers back so we can start to move the hips towards the back of the mat. And eventually, we'll move into child's pose. This time we can let the head come to the ground and take the hands back down towards the toes. And just let ourselves breathe. I'll bring the hands forward again to lift up onto all fours. And we'll take ourselves into down dog. So bringing the fingertips up towards the front of the mat, tucking the toes underneath and lifting. Depending on how the back of your legs are feeling, you might want to walk out gently. Going to try and have the hips lift to the sky. Check the knuckles are attached to the ground. There's no gaps underneath the hands. Turn the armpits a little towards the floor. Make some space across the back of the shoulders. And then we're going to come into a plank. Let the knees come down to the floor underneath us and spin the knees out to the side, just being careful of your knees. Roll yourself back onto your bottom and take the legs out in front. And once you arrive, we're going to draw the feet in, hip distance apart until the soles of the feet touch the floor. We'll take the hands behind for a reverse tabletop. We'll lengthen the chest up towards the sky, draw the belly in, squeeze the shoulder blades together a little bit. And then when you're ready, lift your bottom off the floor, draw yourself forwards towards your heels, lift up. We'll keep the chin in towards the chest. Again, we're trying to send the thighs and the buttocks towards the front of the mat. And if you need to, just use your toes to wiggle the feet forward so they feel a little bit more directly underneath the knees, you can do. We try and keep the feet and the knees the same distance apart and parallel. And we actually press the shoulders down towards the floor as well. We've got another 20 seconds here. So 4 or 5 long breaths. And then we'll ease our bottom down to the floor. bring ourselves gently back. Going to cross the ankles over, bring the heels in and roll onto the knees. We're going to come off the tabletop, so however you need to move to allow that to happen. Take a little breath from here. Tuck the toes underneath, move that back into down dog. Come up onto the tippy toes, just taking gentle steps with the feet into a forward fold, keeping the heels from the ground as long as we can, shifting the weight forwards through the shoulders, and then eventually the infamous waddle to the front of the mat. You can take a breath here and then let yourself fold down over the ribs. Thighs touch, head hangs, hips lift. Again, we're starting to let the back of the legs open out a little bit with this longer hold. And we'll soften the knees. Bring the hands onto the hips, lengthen the chest out, and then with that flat back, we lift up. Inhale the hands high above the head, palms coming towards the heart. Exhaling over, we're taking the weight into the toes. Soften the knees when you need to. Take a little breath. We'll take the right foot to the back of the mat into a big lunge. Take a breath here. Drop the heel onto the center line. I'm going to check the front knees over the ankle and then use the hands to lift up. I'm going to open up into warrior two. So just starting to feel the groins open a little bit. Checking that front knee is over the ankle, not collapsing in on the front leg. We'll take the hands towards the sky above the shoulders. Rotate the body gently towards the front of the mat. Bring the hands down to the floor. Once they've arrived, we'll spin the back heel up. Step it into the plank. We're going to take half plank. Knees can come to the floor if you wish. Otherwise, we push forwards on the tippy toes. Elbows into the ribs. Don't take it as low as you think. Bootlaces change, up top. Lengthen the legs away, draw the belly in, shoulders back. Exhale, roll it into down dog. Now drawing the right knee into the chest, holding that position for a moment. Come up onto the tippy toes as you breathe in. Exhale the foot between the hands into the lunge. On the fingertips, strong back leg. Push off the toes into the forward fold. Bring the hands onto the hips, soft knees, and we'll lift up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhaling over and down. Taking the left foot back into the lunge, we press out through the heel. On the exhale, drop the heel in. Take a breath in, hands onto the side to lift up. Open it up. Check and adjust. Inhale the hands above the shoulders. Rotate, lengthen, and bring the hands down. Spin the back heel, step it into the plank. Same applies as last time. If you're ready to push forwards, half plank, up dog, down dog. We'll come up on the tiptoes, drawing the left knee in, breath in. Exhale the foot through into the lunge. Breath here as you stretch out. Press away into the forward fold. Fold it in deep. Hands onto the hips as we lift up slowly. Hands high. Into the heart. We're coming down to the floor again. We're going to take that warrior two into the right leg again, so that goes back, heel drops down, hands onto the front thigh, we lift, open it out. And take the hands over to the sky straight this time. Turn the hips, shoulders, spin the heel up towards the sky to high crescent. Press out through the back heel a little bit, draw the shoulders back, ribs down towards the pelvis, tailbone down towards the floor. And then we'll bring the hands down to the ground. Step it back into the plank, into the half. Take the breath in. Exhale it back into down dog. Tippy toe. Right knee in. Through into lunge. Breath in, lengthen it out. Push off the toes, exhale forwards. Fold it in deep. Hands onto the hips. Inhale up. Second side. Hands into the heart. Weight into the toes as we come down. Soften the knees as you need. Slide the left foot back. Drop the heel in. Hands onto the front side to open up into warrior two. Breath here. Exhale, take the hands high. Inhale, rotate to the front of the mat. Shoulder blades back, ribs down, pubic bone down, tailbone down, back heel presses out. Hands come to the floor. Stepping back into the plank for the last time. Half plank. Up dog. To down dog. And we'll draw that left knee as we come into tippy toe. Exhale the foot through. Strong lunge. Push off the toes. Fold it in. Hands onto the hips. Soft knees to lift back up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. We're going to exhale down to the floor. Take a little cheeky walk forwards with the fingers and then lift the heels off the ground. So you lean forwards just a fraction. We'll soften the knees. We're going to see if we can sit down onto the heels. So take it slow. See how those knees and ligaments, muscles feel. Then we'll take one hand behind, other hand behind, and just plop as gracefully as we can down to the floor. Now I'm going to take the hands behind and roll the spine down. I'm going to keep my chin in towards my chest as I come to the floor and draw the knees in. I'm going to take a little breath here. Take the knees out wide. Let the hands come on the inside of the shins. I'm going to wrap the hands around the outside edge of the little toe for happy baby. And we all hope we got one of those. So I'm going to take the soles of the feet upwards on both sides. And then slowly roll the spine down to the floor and let the head Take a little time to lengthen out. Relax the shoulders a little bit. Now at this point, for most of us, the pelvis has rolled a little bit off the floor. So we're not going to worry too much about what's happening with the legs, but we're going to try to draw the tailbone down towards the floor. So get our lower back into the ground a little bit more. And we have to use the muscles inside the pelvic girdle to kind of direct them down to where we want to go. Now it's easy to kind of do a sit-up and scrunch everything up. This is going the other way, literally extending out and lengthening. And so you have to get a little bit of time to let the muscles and the brain connect as to what's going where. We get as flat as we can. Now I'm going to release my right foot very gently to the floor onto the center line close to the bottom. Let the right hand come out to the side for a little bit of balance. Draw the chin in towards the chest so I can have a look and send my right leg down the line of the mat and then let the head come back in to the ground. So you want to keep the head, neck, spine and the long leg all in the same plane on the same line. It's very easy to start pulling the head to the side a little bit. Trying to lengthen the hips away. So that same action we had in drawing the tailbone down to the floor takes place. Again, not too worried about the position of the half-held foot. Not worried about the fingers being able to grip for a long period of time. Okay, draw the knees back in, so we come back into our happy baby. Chin towards the chest so I can see what I'm doing. And then slowly release the left foot down onto the center line. Take the left hand out to the side, palm up. Slide the leg out, just see how that feels to lengthen out those hip flexors. And then roll the spine gently to the floor, get a nice long neck. Again, think about the center line of the mat and how we use that with neck, spine, and legs. Now, the lengthening out of the left leg kind of counteracts the weight of the right leg being in the position it's in. So trying to draw that side of the pelvis down to the floor a little bit. And then we'll slowly bring that heel back in. Find a little pause here. Down. Slowly putting the heels back in. Now I'm going to bring the knees together, close in towards the chest, and see if I can wrap my chin in towards my chest, and my arms around the shins. So I'm into a little curled up ball. And then we'll take a little rest from there. Allow myself to slowly roll onto my right side. Allow myself to lift gently back up. So I'm going to take a breath from here. Cross the ankles over again. I'm going to come into a second melted heart. So the knees underneath the hips, the hands are a little wider than the shoulders. And just walking the hands out slowly. And this time I'm going to keep the body in more of a straight line. So the chin before got really close to the ground. It's like, yeah, centimeter away, it felt like. Maybe it was more, but it felt like that. Now I can definitely see that there's about 6 inches. My eyes can actually focus on the ground. The nice line between the hands, the shoulders and the hips, and the belly drawn in, pressing the shins into the floor. Trying to keep that spine nice and long, lengthening it away. Last breath here. Walk the fingers back in again, coming into that child's pose again. Taking the hands towards the toes. So bring the hands towards the front again and just lift slowly back out. Going to roll onto the bottom. Take the legs out in front, block behind. Just going to get that little bit of a lift. Both legs out. Just wriggle the seat of the pants out, touch. Then take the left foot underneath and out towards the right hip. So that knee points forwards and it's down on the floor. Draw the right foot in and then cross that over. Try and have both sitting bones feel like they've got an even amount of weight through them. I'm going to tilt the pelvis forward slightly because as you come into this, you tend to roll back the pelvis. So I always want to bring that back into neutral. Take the left hand up and rotate the body. And just take the right hand behind for that little bit of extra stability. You can look over the rear shoulder if you wish, or chin faces heart. Try and have the foot that's closer towards the front of the mat, flat to the floor rather than being on the side if you're able to. It does kind of require you to bring the footing quite close towards the body. And then we'll release. Untangle. Take it over to the second side. Remember to tilt into neutral. Right arm comes up, rotating round. And release. So I'm going to take the legs out again. Roll myself down to the floor. I'm going to take the block with me for the back of the head. So knees high, hands behind to support. Roll that spine down. Take the hands out wide, crucifix style. And then I'm going to take the feet out as wide as the mat. Let the knees sink in towards the middle. And then I'm going to scissor both legs over towards the right. So keeping the feet at distance apart as the feet roll gently onto their side edge. Let's see if I can bring the bottom knee very close to the floor. And then once you've done that, flex both feet and feel the muscles in the legs engage, particularly in your butt. Spread the toes. We will slowly release. Come back. Roll it out to the second side. Once we're settled, allow yourself to flex both feet. And we'll come back to the center again. Let the body realign. Lengthen the legs out to the corner edges of the mat. Bring the hands alongside the body. And then just let the legs relax. Then the back of the pelvis, the glutes, the lower back sinks into the floor. Belly starts to get a little softer. Ripples across into the chest. The shoulders relax down. Back of the neck softens. Face muscles relax. Jaw gently adrift. And we'll begin to stretch the fingers and toes. A little bit of movement through the wrists and ankles. Deepening the breath. Take a stretch in any way, shape or form that feels good. And then draw the heels in one at a time towards the body for a final gentle hug. Knee circle, rock from side to side, whatever feels good. Now we'll take a deeper breath here. On the exhale, we'll roll gently on to the right side. Take another breath there. And then on the exhale, use the hands to smoothly lift back up. Bring ourselves into a seated posture. Sit up tall, hands to the heart. Close the eyes as you take a deeper breath. A simple bow to the floor as you drop the chin to chest, sealing the practice for the afternoon. Inhale, let the spine lift. As you would lift the head and open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me.